Hello.
Hello.
It's us. Fancy meeting us here. Who would have thought that we'd be here at the open bar?
Crazy.
It's always a nice vibe. Like once everyone else is cleared out, and it's just us clearing up the the empties.
Yeah, they just grab at each of the pints and be like, "Hey, left, a little bit left." There we go.
Yeah, just like odds and sods, mix them all together. You got yourself a special brew right there.
There you go.
It's very appropriate, actually. When I'm looking at my avatar, there's a bunch of like empty cans underneath it, so I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. That's the vibe we want. There's no dancing women in the background, sadly, right now, but that's okay. We'll make do. But anyway, well, this is last orders for open bar number 91. And yeah, it was an interesting open bar. It was great fun. We had lots of discussions. We had some disagreements, and none of us got mad at each other, and we're all friends. So
Yeah. I've seen people say, definitely not an echo chamber. It's like, true.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like some people get mad if you all agree on something, and then other people get mad if you disagree and you have a discussion about it. So yeah, you're never going to please everyone.
Like there'll be some people who will treat the whole thing as though it's a bad event if we disagree. It's like, no, you should probably look to have that happen every once in a while. It's a bit of fun.
Exactly. Yeah. See, everyone. That's what mature adults, friends, can do when when we're motivated. You know, we can disagree about things and then be like, all right, moving on. Let's agree on how shit Disney is. But yeah, it was fine. But we do have a whole bunch of super chats that we've got from people, so we'll do our best to answer them, I guess. Sweet. The first one is from David Lamplow. He says, what actors do you feel have carried or elevated average or poor shows or movies with their performances alone? For me, it's Anthony Starr as Homelander and Carl Urban from The Boys.
I would agree with those two choices, actually, yeah.
Yeah, strong theme of The Boys there. I might add in Jimon Honsu, purely because I just watched Rebel Moon, and he's a fantastic actor, and he's horribly underused like everyone else in that terrible movie. But I feel like he can elevate things.
I think her name is Bay something. I forget the actress's name, but the one who plays Nemesis, there's a scene where she's like tearing up thinking about her role as a mother, and I was like, oh gosh, you're putting way too much effort into this. This is so unnecessary. It's a moment where it's like, it's not that they're not carrying it because they can't. It's impossible to carry that is too heavy. Rebel Moon cannot be carried by
no cast could carry that. Not even if they were all Anthony Hopkins just cloned, and still would be able to.
Yes, that is the problem that movie faces. But I hesitate to say he carried it, but I think that House wouldn't be anywhere near as good without Hugh Laurie.
Yeah, it's very true.
I feel like he made that show, so sort of with that one. I guess you could argue Johnny Depp carried the future Pirates films for as long as he could.
Yeah,
like the first one was pretty banging on its own, but like his star power and his performance was like one of the few remaining things that was worth seeing in them as the time went on.
I think obviously the show itself was fantastic anyway, but Bryan Cranston did an amazing job as Walter White. Like, I just couldn't see anyone else playing that character. And I'm going to throw in William Shatner as James Tiberius Kirk, because no one has ever equaled that performance and no one ever will. And I've got nothing against Chris Pine, but he's not Captain Kirk. It's always going to be Shatner for me. All about the Shats. I was just going to say as well, like, just thinking about Rebel Moon just for a moment, the bit at the end where the boyfriend dies and Sophia Boutella just like bursts into tears. I can't make up my mind if she's a terrible actor or not. I never seen her do amazing in anything.
Hate to say it, but I thought she was bad. I wasn't getting it from her. It felt very awkward. I mean, I feel bad saying it because I think she was trying her ass off. I think she wanted this to work. And why wouldn't she? Of course, this was a big career opportunity to get this to be great. She had every reason to think Zack Snyder was going to take care of her and create a franchise that she could be a part of for years to come.
Oh, Sophia.
Get out of there, Sophia.
Yeah, never think that Zack Snyder's going to take care of you.
She needs someone in her family to sit her down and be like, they are bad films. They're very, very bad.
I mean, I think they'd be better off at this point just doing like a Sydney Sweeney and just straight up admitting, yeah, this sucked. Like, just have fun with it. Why not? And possibly turn up to the premiere wearing basically nothing. But Yes, Taker610 says, Drinker, I just learned about Tartan Day, where we celebrate the contribution of Scots to YouTube film criticism. No day for the Welsh, though. Ooh!
Well, there's not enough of us, I guess. I have to boost them numbers, and then maybe.
That's it. Well, you are carrying Welsh film criticism single-handedly, and you're doing a fine job.
Aw.
Normie says, greetings all. I saw Monkey Man last weekend, a bit repetitive at times and a bit of the message thrown in, but overall a pretty enjoyable action movie. Anyone see this yet? No, I feel like that movie's just kind of passed me by, and I don't know why, because a lot of people have been talking about it.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning it, and then I didn't see it. So it's like,
yeah, it's like, cool story, bro.
Feels like I guess I'll catch it at some point. That's going to be one of those films where I randomly am like, oh yeah, I'll watch that now.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't one that gripped me like from the trailer or anything, and I thought, oh, I've got to see this. I'm pumped for it. Just nah.
I'll tell you what it was. A friend of mine recommended it, right? But they did the kind of recommendation. Do you know the one where they go, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, half-assed, like,
and you're like,
it's not amazing, but it's worth your time.
And if it's one of those movies, you're like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll check it out at some point.
Yeah. It's not exactly top of the list. Javiator says, you need to play New Vegas on your gaming channel. That'd be quite fun, actually.
I think you need to make sure you get the right mods first. If I'm New Vegas is notoriously a bit flim-flammy with its base game. But
right.
Just fair warning, I guess.
Because the copy I've got is like an old one for the 360, so...
Oh, yeah, I think you'll be fine on non-PC. I'm only saying that just, do a quick Google or whatever. I know that whenever I mention the possibility of playing it, everyone's like, make sure you get the right mods. I'm like, which ones?
Yeah. I'm so annoyed, actually. There's loads of things I want to do for my gaming channel. Like, I want to stream some Helldivers.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stream a bit more Final Fantasy. I want to stream Stellar Blade for sure.
Hell yeah.
That'll be great fun.
I'll be out soon, yeah.
Yeah, so there's loads of things I want to do. I'm just trying to find the time for it all. Why do I have to sleep and eat and stuff? It's so annoying.
Sleeping is so annoying. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna be sending a letter soon. To God, I guess.
Yeah. Why did you make us this way? RRTNZ says, Hail Drinker and team, great to see Lance back. As Walton Goggins is topical this weekend, I'm recommending Justified, as many have before. Cheers. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Justified.
I think what's cool about a role like Fallout for him is that it crystallizes him as an actor. It's literally like unfortunately Ray Stevenson with Ahsoka, where instead of being, oh yeah, I spot him in loads of stuff, a lot of people end up going from that to their actual name whenever they see them. It's like, I know that guy. He was in that. And it's like, now they know. Because the amount of fucking people, no offense to anybody who said it, but who was saying Walter Goggins, it was like, God damn it. You feel bad for him because he's probably got that his whole life, It's like Walton.
It's quite an unusual name for an actor. Like, it doesn't sort of scream cool or anything, like Walton Goggins.
Well, my dad forever would mix up Leslie Nielsen and Liam Neeson and call him Liam Nielsen and Leslie Neeson. And I was like losing my mind. I was like, you don't mean that. I was like, they're totally different fucking people. But it's cool to get a role, whether or not I enjoy the fucking thing as a whole, that gets him on the map for a lot of people in a way, because he's great in everything he turns up in. Except, of course, the Marvel film he turned up in, as do all actors who get put into a Marvel film. It just,
it's like getting put through a mincer or something. Yeah,
you can't.
It's going to come out the other end.
You can't do anything because they don't give you anything material.
I just remember him in the Tomb Raider movie with Alicia Vikander as well. And like, he stood out to me even then because I didn't really know who he was until I looked him up in the credits. But I was just like, this guy's really going for it in a movie where everyone's kind of like phoning it in. And it's just, I don't know, it's always a hallmark of quite a good actor that just gives it their all in pretty much any situation. And, hey, maybe I can add him to the list of people who carry productions.
I think he went from being a guy I recognized to Walton Goggins after Django Unchained for me. No, Hateful Eight and Django Unchained, because he's in both of those. Yeah. If you remember in Hateful Eight, he's like the annoying sort of, I don't like Samuel Jackson character, but he ends up throughout the film coming to like him quite a lot and ends up being quite important by the end.
Who is he in Django again?
He's one of the subordinate type gunmen.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And he gets shot in the dick at the end, I think.
Is he the one that's like, God damn you, Django?
The Django. He is Silent Hillbilly.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
That's really good. Forgotten how much I enjoyed that movie. But yeah, man, I think with this one as well, like I guess he gets to flex his acting muscles quite nicely because, you know, not only is he getting to have loads of fun as the ghoul, but you get to see him as, you know, how he was before and a much more serious kind of character. And he gets to run the full gamut as an actor, I suppose. So it's nice when they get to do that.
I think he's got an interview saying it was a fucking nightmare doing the makeup, but it's the kind of role where I'm like, please don't lose your enthusiasm to do it because the ghoul makeup is really good. So, like, yeah, I hope you continue to have a great performance because everyone comes away saying he does a really great job in the show, which is true.
Yeah, he's just great fun. Blue Collar Loser also says, oh no, sorry, there's two of them here. Yeah, glad to have you on, Lance. He got me into Hillsborough. As a father, it's hard to watch. He helps smaller channels and fills his special needs quota having me on. Nice one, man. And yeah, I've streamed with you many times on Lance's channel. And yeah, I think he'd covered Hillsborough, the Hillsborough disaster quite a bit. And it's interesting because I don't know if Americans really knew much about it back in the day. I don't know if it really kind of traveled beyond Britain.
I don't know.
As an international news piece. I mean, I imagine it was a horrendous disaster, so they must have heard about it to some degree. He also says, as Gary would say, some Lord of the Rings purists hate the movies. I love the Fallout show and played every game. It's okay to make some changes in live action.
You know, well, I'd be curious about that person saying that, whether or not they have the same perspective based on whether or not it's in canon with the games, right? So adaptation versus in continuity. As far as I'm aware, this is the first live action adaptation of a video game that is in line with the continuity. At least that comes to mind. Like, because they always,
yeah, I think you might be right. Actually,
they always do adaptations. So this to me is like, wow, that's a risky move. Saying that whatever happens here is canon for the whole games.
Because continuity-wise, is it not set about 9 years after the events of Fallout 4? I think
I'd have to look at all the timelines and stuff, but that's what the big thing that everyone's been debating is about. And I think Todd Phillips has even come out and tried to clarify a few things, which isn't fantastic to be in the situation of. But obviously, as you would know, as everyone knows, everyone is sensitive about their lore. They don't want you making any big changes.
Yeah. Fair dues. Andrew McCarthy says, Gary, what comic should I stop reading at Marvel and DC? For example, for Marvel, should it be Civil War and DC Final Crisis? So I think what he's saying is, like, where should I stop in terms of the chronology of the comics? I'm the absolute worst person to ask about that since I know absolutely nothing. I mean, did you absorb anything from real BBC, Mahler? Did you learn about comics?
They don't. So, you know what's funny? Some people are like, why are you on that show when you don't know anything about comics? It's like, we don't talk about comics. I mean, they do every once in a while, but not like in a way that we talk about movies or anything. You know what I mean? Like, they usually talk about it industry-wise, meta-wise, or sort of an overview of, in the same way that we might talk about Snyder's filmography, they will talk about the achievements of like certain comic creators. But I haven't been able to learn a lot in terms of like events of comics because they don't break them down or review them or anything. So I can't say or speak to a lot of comic stuff compared to before, but there's a lot of comic book creator names that I'm now semi-familiar with. And, you know, they end up answering a lot of like, what are the best comics or what are famous comics for certain characters, which sometimes bleeds over into my my comic vault. But no, I'm still absolutely a comic novice.
Well, fair enough. The Justice says, I wanted to thank Mahler. His coverage of Boogie motivates me to lose weight. I'm currently at 90 pounds lost and I'm now near a transplant. Getting healthier is the only thing that brings me joy in this life. Thanks for the content. That's
excellent news. And I do think that is something, you know, everyone can benefit from a bad example, right? Or is that how it's said? That is right. Like we can all.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like a cautionary tale, and that is exactly what Boogie is.
Yeah. Have you been covering his weight extensively over the years on EFAP?
Not really. No, we already did that one big episode. Was he made that documentary? But we also did the boxing one.
Boxing match,
actually, which the boxing match that lasted about 10 seconds.
I know we really had to work to get content out of that one, but it was fun to actually watch, and I actually gained quite a lot of respect for Wings just for one, the fact that he totally dominated the fight, and two, like he seemed to be quite motivated to get in shape for it. So I always like to see stuff like that, and you know, it's always it's always positive to hear people making like good changes like that in their lives. I mean, Az just posted an update on his channel because he's been kind of absent from making videos recently. And he said there that he's lost 110 pounds since he started losing weight. Like he started dieting, exercise, all that. I mean, that's a hell of an achievement.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's impressive stuff. Confucius says, I had an absolute genius idea for a movie. Every role that Nick Cage has played, jumping out of a flying bus to an island where they fight to the death, last man standing. Title it Cage Match. I'd pay to watch it. Sounds good to me. Casey Boyd, Drinker, bigger, longer, and uncut, and Team America are musicals. Trey Parker and Matt Stone started out as musical students. Not many people know that. Wow, there you go.
Interesting.
I still don't consider a Team America a musical. I mean, in the same way, I don't consider a Disney movie to be a musical. You know, like the old animated.
Okay,
ones.
well, at that point, fine. If that's how you do it.
Paul Kurtz. Kat Dennings is busty, but her character Darcy in the Thor movies always hides her chest under several layers of shirts. So my question is, Darcy busty or not? Or is this a case of Schrodinger's boobs? These are the big questions in life.
Hopefully we get our teams to analyze that.
Yeah. I mean, like, so say the actress is naturally busty, but like they make a point of like, I don't know, strapping them down or something so you can't really see them. Are we to then infer that the character themselves is not? Are they just trying to transform themselves for this?
There'll be wiki pages that regard this, like 2 potential lore tracks.
Yeah.
Everyone
Deep research is going to be needed. Ben Bernard Smith says, any of you seen Master of the Air on Apple TV? It's a great successor to Band of Brothers. It keeps close to the real history of US pilots in the UK, has great characters, and isn't woke. Well, yes, I'm very familiar with it because I covered it extensively on Lance's channel. Yeah, go and check that out for our overall thoughts on it, the Outcast creative. But yeah, it started out great, started to lose its focus, tried to work in way too many other characters all over Europe, and just became a bit farcical at certain points. And I think they took quite a lot of liberties with the source material towards the end. Like, to put it in, like, just to give an example, one of the pilots in his sort of war journals on which the book was based had a fling with like a female like RAF clerical officer or something, like just a sort of low level position. Spent a weekend with her and then never saw her again. She went off and like, I don't know, you get deployed to different places and then you just don't see people again. It was just how things were done back then. And he was like, he made this offhand comment like, oh, I never saw her again. For all I know, she could have been a spy. And so the book, the TV show then runs with that and does straight up make her a spy, which then gets sent into like France before the D-Day invasion. It's like, okay, you're just trying to work in the character, I guess, but fucking hell, that's taking liberties, man. I don't think that was what they were intended with the source material. Silent Evil says Fallout was a blast. Oh, I see what you did there. Thank you. I'm glad you saw it. At least it didn't bomb. Anyway, Jester of Roanoke says it's Gary's world and we're all just late in it. Well, we're just early in it. That's the thing. As his wonky eyebrow says, 2 million subs tonight, Drinker. Let's fucking go, chat. I don't think tonight, but I've got a couple of thousand. Yeah, I think I've got about 4,000 to go, so it shouldn't be long. Bead Takes says, Black Sails is officially on Netflix, just for your information. Thank you. I will watch it one day. Believe that. Honeylock says, Gary, did you say on the Nooner that the Ramones were not only just a punk band, but the best one? don't know if he said that or not. You can't confirm it here, I'm afraid.
No.
Harriman says, you got me. I went into hypersleep in 2006 and woke up last week. I time traveled to experience the past 18 years. Unfortunately, no one heeded to my warnings. Okay, sure. Dearest says, Drinker clearly had a nice trip to the East Berlin gift shop. I did indeed, yeah. That's where I got that hat.
It was a wonderful hat.
There's shit like that all over the place in Berlin, and it's all fake, and I don't care. It just looks cool. And it's actually very effective at keeping your ears warm. You know, those Russians knew what they were doing when they made that shit. Thrillhouse says, Mauler, I'm here to ask for a Moses Lack impression. Why?
I don't
think Mauler can do that one.
It's like he's like a smoker essentially, right? He's like,
yeah, I kind of talks like this, Homer.
Yeah, that's the best I'm gonna be able to pull off. Yeah, it's Mo. Just Patty and Selma, but more of a man.
What was it when Marge becomes a bodybuilder and Mo's like trying to tell her politely that she's minging now? He's like, I don't got enough booze in here to make you look good.
Fuck, I don't even remember that. Which is that like an older episode or a newer one?
Yeah, she I think she gets mugged or something, right? And so she becomes kind of agoraphobic and then just starts working out obsessively and becomes huge. Yeah. Casey Boyd says, remember, Drinker, if you get a copyright strike, it's canon. That means Toho has officially acknowledged Drinker as part of the Godzilla verse. Well, there you go. It's an honor to be part of it. The Bob that God made mad says, Mauler's magnum opus. He plays Fallout New Vegas and chooses the ending where he nukes Shady Sands and the rest of the NCR.
Oh my God.
Do it. Prison Wife Gary says, prison changed me and Vegas wore my ass out. Good to know. E. Smith, Drinker, you're only a little older than Razor Fist. Am I? I thought he was like mid-30s or something. Oh, well, there you go. Rob Aitken says, Lance, thank you for your discussions about Masters of the Air. Never has my anticipation for a show been so heavily crushed. Yeah, it'll do that to you. It was fun to talk about, though. T1S says, Mauler, when you have some time, 8 years from now, you should do an EFAP movies for Idiocracy and Demolition Man with Drinker, Gary Az, and the boys.
I feel like for every day that passes, those films get better, you know?
Yeah, more prescient.
But not bad as a tag team of films to watch back to back.
Joe Themig says, cheers, gents, have a beer on me. What's your take on Alan Ritchson regurgitating mindless, inaccurate, progressive talking points about US police violence? Kind of sours him a bit. I don't know what to make of it, man. I mean, he's entitled to his own opinions, I suppose, but I just feel like he didn't really need to speak up about all this stuff. Probably would have just been better served to shut the fuck up and just concentrate on acting. It's a crazy idea, I know, but there you go. Sonny Close says, attempted brief Mary Sue definition. A character whose persona is maintained at the expense of other characters, the plot, and other aspects of storytelling. I mean, it works, I suppose. I mean, I'd like to go into more detail, really, about what a Mary Sue is and, you know, some of the aspects of them. But, yeah, I mean, that's fine, I guess. If your primary goal is just to make this character look good, at the expense of everyone else and the story not really making sense, then sure, I guess that's a good definition. D. Breezy says, all this drama the last couple of days, I wanted redemption and retaliation. I considered many negative actions and behaviors. I decided support was a better way to go. Joined all channels. Oh, okay. Well, never purchased a comic before, but purchased all of the Rippaverse books. Already listened to the Drake series. Already subbed to Geek Grind Coffee. Bring on what's next. Don't let me down. Lol. Okay, cheers, man. Yeah, I guess supporting everyone. It's very generous of you to do that, so thank you. Derek says, I'm with Mauler on Fallout. They could have made something unique if they'd stuck to the gritty survival tone of the game, but they went for a wacky wasteland adventure. I hated the Vault with its goofy golly gosh characters.
I mean, I don't want to go as far as saying I hate like that in concept. I think you can make parts of that work really well. I just I don't find it very consistent at all in tone, and I think the fact that it goes into any kind of satirical elements is used as a sort of shield against all the ways that it fails to properly execute tone.
I think it's always a tough one, isn't it? When you've got, in a way, you've got moments of like light-hearted satirical humor, but then it just takes a hard turn into like proper heavy drama, horror, like all those kind of elements. It's like it's a tough one to switch between.
I think if you had Austin Powers 4 and Dr. Evil speculates that they should nuke Earth in order to make money or something like that, it would be really funny. They could probably nail it. when they announce they're going to be dropping the bombs themselves, the Fallout show treats that as an incredibly dramatic and horrifying realization, not as a funny satirical moment.
Yeah.
Which is, part of why I take issue with it. I think that it's an insane, absurd, nonsense decision from the characters as they are presented in the show. The capitalist, corporate fat cat people. Like, I can't deal with it, because I could totally accept it if it were in a parody or a comedy or something like that, but not in this show where we're trying to maintain, like, people dying matters, that this character development that's really important. A lot of things are grounded, but sometimes it's not, and I don't think the show does a good job of balancing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be inclined to agree to some extent, and I think the games had a better setup where they acknowledge that the war was kind of an inevitable thing. Like, nuclear war at this point in human history was probably going to happen because there was such a build-up between the superpowers, and Vault-Tec was just there to capitalize on it. And that's, I think, fine as a premise. Like, and beyond that, like, they then used that to their advantage to conduct all weird experiments and stuff. Arceo Markison says, "Hail to the panel. Have a beer on me and Skal from Iceland." Thank you. I mean, I'd like to, but a beer in Iceland is like £50 each or something. So, yeah. You guys have got it tough, man. I mean, there's nothing to do but drink up there, and you can't even do it because it'll bankrupt you. Roger Sam says, "FDR, a Democrat, only president to serve more than 2 terms." Yeah, but they were non-consecutive, weren't they? As far as I understand. He had 2 terms, then he had a term off and then back again. Jonathan Sherwood says, "You forgot your co-host, the Little Platoon." He's like an interim co-host if Muller's not there, but
pops in and out.
He's he's in so often, He's an alcoholic like the rest of us. Placebo Shotgun says, this is a 2-parter. "The episode 8 reveals that Vault-Tec dropped the bomb, killed it for me. The motives just don't work. It's either let's blow up the world to increase our bottom line, which makes no sense, or let's explode the world to ensure our experiments on creating a perfect society and save the world runs so the costs for these experiments aren't wasted. Save the world from what? Being exploded."
It is, like, I've looked over it a couple of times. That scene, it is hard to fully understand what the writers want me to think the characters in the scene are thinking, because it all starts with, "Lol, Vault-Tec, you're losing stock. Like, your capital is shrinking, and it's shrinking because you're trying to sell, equipment and vaults in a world where we're not even at war. We're not even after worrying about it, because the threat of war is dying, peace talks are recovering, and so Vault-Tec are like, yeah, well, what if we facilitate the war?" And that's the big realization and stuff. And then I think it's Mr. House is like, well, yeah, we could make a lot of money out of that, but that's a hypothetical. What if all the people in the vaults kill each other? And what if the people on the outside kill the people in the vaults once they come out? And Bud says, well, all the people on the outside will be dead because time is going to kill them. And then she says, I forget her name, Barbara, I think. She says that on the inside, you can prevent them from eating each other like rats by conducting an experiment to devise the greatest, human society. And we'll experiment with over 100 of them. And hopefully someone, she says, like, the winner will be the winner. And that, I don't think, would be tempting in any way, shape, or form to a capital owner in America in any way, shape, or form. I think they'd be like, that's insane. And I would I'm not only destroying my position in this world as a very rich person that can travel and, have freedom and amazing house and all kinds of things, to exchange that for what? Going into a vault where I experiment with a bunch of people to create this perfect society. Like, why wouldn't you'd think someone there would be like, I don't fucking care about any of that. I just want to make money. Like,
it's like there's got to be easier ways to make money than literally wipe out the human race.
Because of course they luck out, and like all of them are like, oh, I want to do one where I make them kill each other. I want to do one where I make super mutants out of immigrants, is one of the lines.
Yeah, and pump like psychedelic drugs into the air filtration systems. That's just like straight up like a really clunky way of getting all the game ideas into that scene.
Yeah. it feels like it switches from the scene is originally like, how are Vault-Tec going to make money? Well, they force the need for the vaults by starting the war, but then we switch over into we tempt all of them there with experiments in the vaults. They just so happen to all be so interested in they're willing to destroy the entire world.
Yeah.
I find it all very, very, very baffling. And then they throw in a couple of lines, right? Like, this will be a true monopoly. This will make America great. Like, all these sort of things where you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Shut up.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of a shame that they felt the need to take it to that degree when it wasn't necessary. Trent Roberts says, "Hey Drinker, will you ever make a video addressing your haters and the idiots on YouTube calling you an alt-right grifter? That would be fun to watch." No, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm just not going to give people like that oxygen.
Drinker, are you going to address the people who claim you're a goblin dragon from an alternate dimension?
I know, like, I could spend a long time trying to like counter all the claims that people try and make about me, and it's a waste of time. You know, it's like it's not going to change their minds, and they probably don't even believe any of that stuff themselves. It's just a quick and easy way to like get clicks, I suppose. So no, I just rather carry on doing what I do and let my work speak for itself, I suppose. I think that's the best way, and just watch all of those people just wither away and their channels fucking die. That's what seems to happen. So yeah, just don't feed the trolls, I guess. The Wolf from Heart says, Gary can barely speak English. He'll need a translator for this panel. Well, he got by okay, so it was fine. Beanpot says, which movie is more believable, Civil War or Red Dawn, where Soviet-led Nicaraguans and Cubans invade Colorado? Yeah, I must admit, like, as a kid watching Red Dawn, I never understood the fucking world building that led up to this. I don't know why they felt the need to do it that way, but it was an awesome movie. So, yeah, I'm going to give that top marks. Dr. Fauci's prison butt says, to be fair to Civil War, the director had two choices, be neutral or take a leftist stance. If he made it right-wing, it never would have been greenlit. I mean, that's probably true, yeah. I guess try and like at least concoct a believable scenario, because what they came up with was so outlandish that like I couldn't even get bought into it. Or just give us a core group of characters that we actually really care about and are interesting people and go on an interesting journey. Then maybe the rest of the world building isn't as important because you're super invested in them. But the movie failed on both fronts, I guess. Maximilian Millerick says, howdy gents, what's your favorite movie that you have critiqued and what is one that you look forward to critiquing? So, favorite one to critique? Probably either Prometheus or Alien Covenant, just because I absolutely tore them a new one and I'm very proud of my work on that one. It was really fun to do.
I'm not sure. The most fun, it's a combination because take Multiverse of Madness, it was such an insane film. Like with every single line of dialogue, I was like, right, I got to do 4 different like angles of how insanely stupid this was. And, you know, so it takes forever, but it's also like a fascinating script. But then you have stuff like the Snyder Cut, where I think the turnaround for that was me and Meme Repository did it in 10 days. And it was a nightmare project, but it was kind of bracing because it was, you know, it was hot off the presses. Everybody was raving. Most people said it was good. You know, there was a few people who said it was bad, and like me on with the EFAP guys were like, this was fucking terrible. And we obviously had the very controversial claim that it was worse than Justice League. And so I was like, I think I can make a video to make these points. And it's like, let's go. And it's one of those things where like the faster you are with something like that, the better understood your point of view will be, because you haven't, you know, if you have that kind of take and then you release a video fucking 6 months later, people will be like, oh yeah, I guess. You know,
yeah.
If you get it out sooner, which, like, in theory, if someone wanted to, you know, clarify their position on Fallout, like, and they made a video about it, they'd probably want to get that out sooner rather than later. You know, that's just me speculating up in the air.
Just a total random example.
Yeah, random example.
Time is the enemy of long form content, though. It really is.
Specifically, like, my enemy.
Yeah. Social Morlock says, I get the Civil War is more of an independent film, but they really dropped the ball on not releasing a fuckable popcorn bucket. Get with the times. I mean, what would it even look like? Kirsten Dunst's face or something?
I actually like the ones that they get more and more desperate, like that they're insane. They just don't even make sense. It's just, like, because fuck it, like everyone has to have a popcorn bucket, like, especially a fuckable one. It's just like, that's the new meta for promoting your film.
Boot Heel says, Mauler, please get autistically passionate about Fallout so you can get angry and make an unbridled rage this Amazon series badly deserves.
That's never going to happen.
Anyway, moving on. Dusty Sprockets. Good day, panel. Listening from a salt mine in Australia on night shift. I'm a big Fallout fan and enjoyed the show. It was great seeing the world come to life. Open bar has kept me sane while I work. Well, thank you. I'm glad we can help you out in your salt mine. Glad you enjoyed the show as well. So thank you. Snex says, do you think Civil War would be better or worse if shot found footage style with the journalists commenting on what they see? That's a good question, actually. Either way can work, but I don't know. The found footage thing has become kind of a played out meme now.
I was about to say, like, what's the last? Maybe it's probably something I didn't even realize was found footage. Like, it was the last one I watched. Man, it's been a while. It's a genre, you don't even think.
There was one called Quarantine, but that's probably looking at like 10 years ago or so now.
Was Quarantine the remake of Record, the American version or whatever?
Ooh, good question. It might be. So there's a bunch of people trapped in a building with zombies in it, and it's been like sealed up from the outside.
Ew, yeah. Wait, have you seen Quarantine and you haven't seen Record?
I don't think I've seen Record.
Damn it, Drinker.
I'm sorry.
They remade that because it's a Spanish film, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Record is a Spanish found footage horror film. Quarantine is the American remake that came out a year later. The Spanish version is much better.
I have no doubt about that.
No doubt, of course.
That's usually the case.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess I watched it. I didn't really feel strongly enough about it. Like I had to track down the Spanish one or anything. It was that's a neat concept. Nick Johnson says, hey, Drinker, saw your video on writing a book. I'm planning to end my book with a plot twist. Any tips on what I should or should not do? I mean, it's a pretty broad topic, really, with plot twists. As long as it stays consistent with what you've built up in your story and it doesn't like blatantly rewrite the rules or contradict things, then I think you're okay. So
get some breadcrumbs going, a little bit of misdirection, maybe. I find the best plot twists are always the ones that make the audience go, "Oh, of course, yes," because all of that. Oh, damn it! I didn't see it, but it was right there, which is very hard to do, by the way.
Yeah. You want that at least when you get the twist, rather than what the fuck was that? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
DB says, Mauler, it's okay if you didn't like Fallout Season 1. It's rumored that Season 2 will have 16 times the detail.
Sweet. I've heard there will be death claws in Season 2.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Scotty says, weird flex about journalists considering there were some involved in the 10/7 attack on Israel. They aren't the heroes the director wants them to be. I mean, I have no idea about that, but yeah, generally I don't have a huge amount of respect for journalists as a profession, so yeah, it was a tough sell. Thomas Bergman says, Bethesda insists that Fallout does not break lore. It doesn't until the birthday party in the first minutes of the first episode. Fallout 3 and 4 have clocks frozen at 9:37 a.m. Eastern Time. No one has birthday parties at 6 a.m. in LA. Homeless people don't get up before noon in LA. Okay, yeah.
Well,
there you go. That's it. Definitive.
There you go. Show is broken.
Yeah. Azrael Israel says, love you, Drinker and Gary. Ah, thanks. Night Polaris. I think anyone who complains about this show yet praises Spider-Man No Way Home is a complete social and political shill. Get over yourself.
Well, to be fair, I don't know if that's supposed to be pointed at me, but I was critical and praiseworthy of No Way Home. I thought it did things well and did things badly.
There you go. Andrew Moore says, Drinker, as a fine author and Expanse fan, did you finish off the story with the last 3 books? My God, they'd have made great TV if maybe the 9th book ending was slightly anticlimactic. Wait, are we talking about the Expanse books or my books?
Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I finished my story with the last 3 books. I don't know if you consider the ending anticlimactic, but I did my best, I guess, to wrap up all the major plot threads. So, Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how I ended the series, and I left the door open for doing more one day if I wanted to. Weakest Link says, Drinker receives thousands of recommendations for movies and TV, so I won't be doing that. Unrelated, Gary, would you explain very loudly and in great detail why Deadwood is so amazing? Totally unrelated. But yeah, I remember Deadwood being a good show. I watched the occasional episode, and it was nice.
Do you see the movie?
No, I didn't. No.
Loads of people didn't see the movie. I haven't seen the movie either.
I kind of wasn't really sure that there was one, so...
Oh, wait, is there not? I thought there was. Let me check. I thought there was a movie. Deadwood the movie in 2019. Yeah, it happened.
Oh, right. All the original cast.
Looks like it, yeah.
Cool. Mo Zizlak says, almost forgot to tune in. Fuck this trial brief. This takes priority, lol. Nice. Get your priorities straight. Blue Team Epsilon says, most of America's nuke sites are in the Dakotas and Wyoming and Nebraska. The loyalists wouldn't let those states fall to Portland no matter what. Kind of stupid. Nice stream. Thank you. And I'll take your word for that, where the nukes are. David K says, Drinker, when Mauler finally turns evil, what top team would you assemble to bring him down? Mauler, how would you like to be beaten? I love the idea of you being crushed by a falling sign for Shelby Oaks. That's pretty good.
Is that a Madam Web, Chris Stuckman combo? That's great.
I don't think there is anyone who could take Mauler down if the full power of logic was deployed against us. We just have to resort to brute force, I think.
I mean, I can't answer the question better than they did with the how would you like to go? Shelby Oaks sign? That sounds like a funny way to do it.
Gabriel Amorim says, nice stuff we've got going on here. Even Tarantino, Lance came to the open bar today. I don't think he looks like Tarantino. Buddy Rabbit says, if mediocre is the standard of enjoyable, then mainstream is deader than I thought it was. If you enjoy it, good for you. This show should not be canon. It got a lot wrong. A lot wrong. And you can tell he was serious because he repeated himself.
Yeah, the conversation's still happening. Everyone's still talking about whether or not it's fucked everything up. It depends on, there's like tiers of autism. You know, I operate on a higher tier of autism than Drinker does. But there are some that enter into a zone that even I am afraid of. I don't go there. But there are people who are like, if you look at the specific, like, you know, topography, what's it for, like, geography?
Topography,
yeah. If you look at that on the maps in the particular games, it's like the soil doesn't match, and you're just like, we don't need to do that.
That's god tier levels of autism right
there.
That's
what I'm saying. It's like those are discussions that even I am like, you can't go there. It's too dangerous. You won't make it out.
That's a road from which there's no return. Boot Heel says, Fallout is a fun show. Feels right at home with Fallout 3, 4, and 76. Too bad that it despises all of the non-Disney, Bethesda-ified Fallout games and casually destroyed the world that they built, and the writing is bad. I clearly need to experience the first two games then.
Yes. Obviously, you know what they're very different than the Bethesda ones. Like, just fair warning.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, I've got fond memories of playing old games like that, so I don't think it'd be too jarring for me. Glib Facsimile says, based Mauler, extremely based.
I will say I've had a couple people being like, please, like, talk more about how it's bad. So few people are doing it. And you get this sense of, we've talked about it before as a concept, but affirmation, right? You come to YouTube a lot of the time to be like, I found this movie bad. I want to find someone who says that in a video. And then they do it, and you're like, yeah. It goes both ways, of course. It's like, I want it good, want it bad, and stuff. It's just like there are people who feel unrepresented. Yeah, I said it. Unrepresented when there's not a video that matches like their sort of point of view. That's what true representation is, Drinker. It's having every opinion on movies. There's nothing to do with skin color or sexuality, just movie opinions.
Well, it's diversity of thought, isn't it? That's the important one.
I mean, I joke, but it kind of is. Like, that's the actual diversity, yeah.
And it's what leads to the most interesting discussions, really. So that's what we like. But, you know, we ran that poll, and I we did it sort of as a bit of a joke, but I think it was a pretty good yardstick because we got about 4,000 people voted on it ultimately, and it was like 60-40 split. So, not liking it is in the minority, but not by much. So it's yeah, it's crazy divisive. It's interesting how people have just got such strong opinions on it, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Otto Deutsch says, start of the 90s versus the end of the 90s. Which is the best sci-fi action film? Terminator 2 or The Matrix? What's your pick? Terminator 2, easily.
The funny thing is, I don't know if this sounds insane. Oh, God, it's actually hard to say, because I was going to say T2 as a sci-fi. I guess it would be, because I was about to say, like, do we just include the time travel? I was like, well, it's the cyborg, I guess, would count for the whole thing. But I almost don't even see it as a sci-fi as opposed to, like, a action film with a sci-fi startup. But then I think that's just because I fucking love Arnie as the Terminator so much, I almost forget sometimes he's a robot. Like, he's like an actual... But compared to The Matrix, which feels like the sci-fi is cranked up to 100 the whole time.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's very fair.
So, like, which is the better sci-fi feels like a different kind of question to which is the better film. To be clear, I way prefer T2 to The Matrix. But, which is the better sci-fi? It's like, well, I think The Matrix does a better job of being a sci-fi, approaching sci-fi concepts and everything. T2 uses science fiction elements to create a really fucking awesome action movie,
For sure. And I think, if you were to talk about which film is aged better or worse, like... T2 is like almost a decade older, and yet it barely seems to have aged. Mm-hmm. Whereas you look back at The Matrix now, and it's like, the techno music, the effects, the technology and stuff. It's like that movie's aged pretty badly.
That is a movie where it'll get to a point where people be like, why is it this way? It's like, you don't understand. We're living back then. This made sense. This movie, you have to understand the culture.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. Boot Heel. Relying on iconography to make fans think it's good is how Bethesda has handled the series since Fallout 3. Ooh. What's your thoughts on Fallout 4? I was just curious.
I never played it. I don't know anything about Fallout 4.
I played it and completed it, and I really liked it. Maybe I'm crazy that way, but I don't know. Thought it was good. Chris Nicholson says, while I'm overall mixed on Fallout, I think they did a great job with the casting. Everyone has that wide-eyed, slightly androgynous, uncanny valley look that captured the look of people in the game. I think as a main character, what is her name? Is it Lucy?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Lucy. Why did I have a brain fart there? I think she does a great job. Like, she does have that kind of wide-eyed, golly gee whiz, optimistic kind of look, and attitude that you'd expect from Vault Dwellers. They've lived in quite a sheltered environment, or at least these ones have. And so I think that's fine. And I think having Kyle MacLachlan there to play the dad, he's like the kind of very traditional looking American father. Like, you can imagine him being in some commercial from the 50s, So again, I think the casting there is all pretty good. Buddy Rabbit says, this wouldn't be a problem if the show was its own continuity, but it isn't. You're supposed to take the lore into account. It's canon. You're not thinking about the lore is the bait and switch.
That's the thing. This is a very unique situation that I'm not sure everyone's even aware of.
I wasn't. I don't know. I feel like the fact that this is considered canon in the games just almost got snuck in later.
I think a lot of fans would tell you that it's fine, that it fits right in, and that it's awesome that they're doing that. And in a perfect world, I think that would be the best thing to do, right? If we are getting great projects across different mediums and they all complement each other in the same universe, that's really cool. But of course, we're not really used to that. That never happens. We usually always have adaptations in different continuities.
Yeah. And I guess it's difficult for me to assess how it fits in as well, because the last game in the Fallout universe that I played was 4, and that was 2015. So you're talking almost 10 years ago. So my knowledge of the games is nowhere near what other people's is. So it's a bit of a tough one. But yeah, I guess I just took it on its own terms when I first started watching it and didn't really think about it being canonical after that. And it's only come out since then. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe that would have changed my opinion of it. Lord Asserman says, the Fall of Shady Sands should have been its own story since it's been growing since the first game. Instead, it's just destroyed off screen. I can see why people would be pissed about that.
I've seen people, I think, I can't remember if I said on the show, but I've seen people compare it to the New Republic being destroyed at the beginning of, or rather, in Star Wars, just that this whole branch of storytelling has been cut off. It's just like, oh, okay. As for their motivations, people speculate that it is to do with people's like. I'm not going to say that this is that. I'm just entertaining the idea that people speculate is because of how much they find it annoying that fans praise New Vegas, and so it's like a little zealous sort of selfish dig. But I mean, I don't know what. There could be another explanation. Season 2 will get us a storyline that will make that something they had to do in order to facilitate whatever they're trying to do. But of course, because we know in the sequels, the reason they blew up the New Republic is like, well, they want to reset. That's obvious. We could see that from a fucking mile away.
Yeah. Honey Badger Nick says, preach Mauler, shit in a prettier boat doesn't make the smell any better. Fallout even thought it was better than most woke garbage, is still trying to push the message, and we all deserve better. Well, that's unequivocal right there. Glib facsimile.
Getting roasted and praised in the super chats.
I know. There's so many of them about Fallout. I bet you, honestly, once we get past the Fallout stuff, there'll be like 4 more, and that'll be it for the rest of the show. Glib facsimile says, if you're a fan of any iteration of Fallout, then the show comes across like Austin Powers being passed off to the audience as James Bond. It's so insulting, it comes across as parody. Oof.
There is a notion that like Fallout's been Flanderized hardcore now, to the point where the show is like a Flanderization of a Flanderization, and that it's so.
Where did Flanderization come from as a term?
It's Ned Flanders, because
no, I get it. It's very evocative. I just never heard it before.
It's great because it's the idea that Ned Flanders was a full character, but as Simpsons went on, he became like a caricature of his own primary traits. I love it as a concept. It's really clear because it happens to all kinds of characters and all kinds of stories where they have parts of them that people love the most, but they only work in contrast to other parts of the character, if you know what I mean. But then those other parts fall away because the writers know, like, oh, people love this about them, so that's what they are. And then they become that, and then the character's Flanderized, and they're no longer the character they used to be. So you can say that about a lot of things, and people would say that. I've seen it said about Fallout that it's as an IP, its identity has been Flanderized into like specific iconography now instead of like a full-on thing.
Well, we've got the duality of man here because Kevin Higgins says, can we just take the win? It was a good fun time.
I am more than happy for people to have fun with it. You have fun.
CT Donner says, any show that promotes a mutilated woman to appease gender ideology should never be promoted. Entertainment's not worth the price of normalizing such horrid things. I mean, look, it's just an actor. Like, I wouldn't get so hung up on it. Fading Fast says, thanks for confirming my bias, long man. I hate it, but I'm used to it. Bethesda has to be tricking tourists with the superficial elements of Fallout since 3. New Vegas is better than 2, better than 1, better than Power Gap, better than 3, better than 4. Well, there you go. Shaker Silver says, the point of Vault-Tec exploiting the impending end of the world can be achieved minus the twist of who caused the nukes. Captain Planet villain logic right there.
I think that would have made it way better to leave it ambiguous as to whether or not they had any involvement. Not like the way they did it, I think, was so silly. And I think they thought it was very impactful. It's like, oh, isn't that a great twist? And it's like, no, I think that's an awful twist.
Like you say, it could have been an ongoing mystery, I suppose. Well, and could have kept people moving along with.
People have said, like, there's speculation in the lore of the game as it stands as to whether or not Vault-Tec had involvement in the launching of the nukes and stuff. And it's like, and that's where it should stay. It should be speculation. It shouldn't be confirmation.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you do confirmation, can you please give us a good reason? Don't say, well, now the capitalists can run their experiments. It's like, oh.
That's not a good explanation. Gorgie says, I subscribed on the 20th of May 2019 when I barely spoke any English. Crazy how you're almost at 2 million now. It was a long journey. Here's some money for a beer along the way. Cheers to the drinker. Thank you, man. You were one of the very early subscribers. I think my channel didn't really take off until about March or April of 2019. So you got in at the ground floor, my friend. Thank you. Watt says, a review needs to be done on Edge of Darkness with Mel Gibson. It's a fantastic movie that's terribly underrated. I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts on the movie unless no one has seen it. I haven't seen it, so I can't give you mine. But is that a newer one of his? I feel like his whole career's been a bit murky since the whole like getting arrested thing. It's just like really low profile stuff that he's done.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, like just a favorite Mel Gibson movie in general.
Yeah, well, because now I'm thinking about it, and it's like, shit. Which ones did he actually make? If we're talking,
Or are we talking about making them or starring in
them, I guess both.
It's got to be Lethal Weapon, really, isn't it?
That's fair.
I mean, Mad Max as well. He's yeah.
Did you see? Have we talked about Apocalypto? That film is so crazy. That film happened.
I don't think we've really talked about it. No, I feel like it came on the heels of Passion of the Christ, but it didn't get quite the same, push.
We should do like EVAP movies for that. That film is crazy, but like I remember being pretty good.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting cover.
Yeah, curious if it holds up and stuff. But yeah, he's got a career. That man, he's got a career. Lots of stuff.
Austin Ewer says, "Hi all. I've been thinking about revivals lately. Specifically, why do things like Gandalf's revival not bother me while others feel cheap? I haven't found any concrete reasons myself. Any thoughts?"
We talked about this, right? It feels more definitive because it isn't the same character. I know that might not be satisfying for a lot of people because they would be like, well, but he feels like the same one to me, and I'm happy to see him back because I'm happy of the, like I like the Gandalf the Grey, and seeing him feels like it fills that hole. Therefore, it doesn't feel like it's actual consequences. But the way I understand it, and the way I think a lot of people do, is that Gandalf the Grey is gone, and this is an entity that is a little bit more complicated in terms of what he is, but that he still has the elements you like about Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of lore going on there that the movies don't really touch upon, like the idea that he's an angel and stuff, and he's essentially been revived temporarily to complete his work there, and once that's done, he's going to be leaving Middle Earth, and that's him gone forever. But
yeah,
like you say, it retains the personality and the memories of Gandalf, but it's not necessarily exactly the same thing. It's not the same person. So yeah, it's kind of a complicated one, but it feels earned because it's very much part of a bigger picture, and his role in it is very well defined, I suppose.
I wouldn't deny though it is hard to explain fully because I think any conventional wisdom for writing would say don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you got to be careful when you handle it. Because we talked about this with Search for Spock, and
I was about to reference that, yeah.
Not to spoil anything, but a certain show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer resurrects 2-3 of the main characters, and they're not considered bad things. Those events of those shows, so you'd have to give big explanations for how these things get away with it. It's a complicated process.
Snex says, Mahler, I recently rewatched EFAP doing the dramatic reading of Gotham High with Jay Longbone. Any plans for doing something similar in the future?
It's the second she wants to record another legendary book written by people who clearly love Batman, we'll be there to do it with her. I think she released the coverage we had of like these 365 days. It's like a film that's trying to pretend it's not a porn when it absolutely is. It's kind of funny. I'm not sure if she's released all of them. I think she might have, but she intended to record the third one with us, I think, at some point. So there's surely more things on the way. We've certainly recorded plenty with her on EFAP movies that you'll see in future as well.
Nice. Tinkinator says, hail to the drinker. Got my glass of cherry coke and dark rum. Great combo. Not bad. Fallout was decent but clumsy. Plenty of those member berries as well. Yeah, that's fair, I would say. Not going to argue too much on that one. Instead of cherry coke, have normal coke, but cherry rum. There you go. You can have that one for free. Nicholas Kreuzer, or Reiser, apparently, says, so many new Fallout fans here. Enjoy your Bethesda slop. I mean, that's the thing. Is Fallout 3 and 4 so bad that you just don't even consider them Fallout games?
Let me be the controversial one. I don't like some of this. I'm getting I'm getting a bit of stolen valor by accident. Like, people are treating me as though I'm some kind of big Fallout fan that respects, 1, 2, and New Vegas, which I do, by the way, because I'm familiar with them thanks to analysis videos. But I haven't played them. I'm not like a true fan who deserves to be taken more seriously because I know my Fallout or anything. I've had to clarify this, I think, while I've been with Drinker about, people are like, you read from the wiki. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know Fallout. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. When people say, oh, this thing doesn't make sense, I'm like, oh, why? And which is a unique problem for me because of the fact that this is in canon with the games. I wish it wasn't, so I wouldn't have to deal with any of this. You know me. I always say, if it's a different continuity, I don't have to. Happy to talk about the meta, but, this whole situation... Fallout 3, 4, 76, like there's enjoyment to be had. They are a style of game. I feel like they'd be better regarded if not for the fact that they're a part of a franchise that has a very different approach with other games in it. This reminds me of Resident Evil 4 versus the games that came before it. Drinky, you're familiar with this? A lot of the fans,
very, yes.
They consider Resident Evil 4 to be the one that ruined Resident Evil. Not to say that I think Fallout 3 and Resident Evil 4 are of similar quality. I have my issues, lots of them, with how Bethesda approached making Fallout. But there's no need to be too vindictive about this. I understand the passion and I understand the frustration, and I do think the TV show is a symptom of what Bethesda has done to Fallout. But I don't know how many times, we talked about this with Star Wars. How many instances, how many sort of projects have to be created before they're not even a tourist anymore? That is just the franchise. You know what I mean? Like Star Wars now it's like 90% awful.
That's where we're at. Yep.
And so when you say like you're a Star Wars fan, you truly do have to do the fucking Civil War meme of like, what do you even mean when you say that? Like, I assume you like the OT because everyone typically does, but from there, do you like the prequels? Do you like the Disney sequels? Do you like Andor? Do you like Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi or not? Do you like Ahsoka? Do you like the Clone Wars, the Rebels? Do you like and all these answers can be different. They're all different factions of people. I think it's fine to thoroughly enjoy all of what Fallout became, but if we could just, treat each other a little bit more calmly when discussing the pros and cons of what has happened to Fallout as an IP. I say this even though I know I've been a bit angry about this whole thing, and certainly if it was an IP I cared deeply about, I would be even more angry.
Oh man, the controversy rumbles on. There's just endless super chats about this. White Knight Leo says anyone who thinks the Fallout show accurately replicates the games either doesn't remember or didn't play anything before Fallout 4. Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas are not studies in convenience. I'll just leave that one there. And then Sam Wallace Art says, I 100% agree with Mauler, but I still enjoy the show. Me and my bro just roast the cringe over beers and appreciate the good moments. Maybe that's the way to go.
That's fair as well. I mean, like I said, I want people to be able to have fun with it. Absolutely. I just, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing when we talk about like what they do with the characters, the plot, and everything.
Yep. Buddy Rabbit says, just because a thing is plausible in the setting doesn't mean you should mash all possible gimmicks of a story together. The suspension of disbelief is important for fiction, even within universe plot. I mean, that's definitely true as a general principle, I would say.
Sure. My suspension of disbelief is earned. It's not something I turn off and on.
Boot Heel says, why is she trying to restore power to the irradiated ruin of Shady Sands instead of anywhere else? Well, I don't think it's just confined to Shady Sands. I think it's just a proof of concept. Like, hey, we can do this now because we have cold fusion. I guess it's just the opportunity to test it.
It's a big area. I don't know what they want us to think exactly. I think season 2 will just have to be where we get that answered. Unless, of course, the Brotherhood of Steel are going to steal the cold fusion and just take it out of that place anyway.
It could be. Nicholas Reiser says, the show has the Wild Wasteland perk, but it affects every part of the show. Claydex says, Vault 32 killed themselves because they were being bred for the super managers. How does that make sense?
I have studied this extensively to try and find the answers. I've seen several different responses in terms of why Vault 32 killed themselves. It is a combination of they were starved deliberately by Bud, and they discovered that they were bred to be super managers. The problem with this is that they've established that you can open the vault doors with Pip-Boys. Like, there's no locks on them to the point where a fucking raider gets into Vault 32. So first, why didn't they, if they realized they're being starved, just get out of the vault, right? I assume you'd rather brave the outside of the vault than starve to death. Another alternative, of course, is to contact Vault 33. I don't exactly know why they didn't do that. I don't know why they didn't try to open the doors to Vault 33, or at least beg. Like they found a bunch of skeletons outside the door of Vault 31.
Yeah, like they were trying to break it open by the looks of it.
Yeah, like why not try and get through to 33 when 33 actually has people there that would help you?
So, I mean, the robot thing in Vault 31, was that able to monitor the situation there and basically realize, like, oh shit, they're rebelling, just let's seal the doors, and they're just, like, they need to die now?
Not clear. I don't know how much Bud was involved, because that's what the brain thing is.
Bud, yeah.
There's a theory, and I kind of like this theory. It makes a few things fit a bit better, that they culled, so to speak, the crop of 32 because they were the crappier set of, say 33 and 2 are your two like pens of animals, and 32 are like really shit. So you kill them all, and then you half your 33s and put them into 32, and then grow the populations again. It's like you could call that eugenics to some extent, right?
Yeah, Movie Bob just parked up somewhere.
Yeah. So I heard that as a theory, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. But again, you have the problems of what did the overseer in 32 do when he found that out? And what did they do in response to being starved? It was kill each other. That doesn't really make sense, I don't think. It's there's a lot of theories, and I don't think any of them fully line up. And the fact that Moldava opens their vault means that they always had the escape to just leave their vault. And I think that means that they shouldn't have died. They should have all just fucking left if they were starving.
Yeah, I guess for me, it was just a little bit unclear over what extent what kind of control Bud is able to exercise over the various vaults.
Well, and of course it gets really weird because it looks like he has barely any when we meet him. He's like glitching.
He's trapped.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one.
What was stupid about Bud was he has the power to fully lock that door, and he doesn't stop Norm from getting in the room. It's like, why didn't you just stop him? Remember he said like you can't leave now because you know too much. It's like, why didn't you just stop him from getting in?
Yeah, I think his Norm's got the ultimate like bargaining chip as well. It's like, well, okay, I'm going to shut down all of these freezers here and kill everyone in the vault if you don't let me out.
I legit didn't understand that at all. I thought that he might even just activate them all and be like, fuck it, chaos, I'm going to wake them all up. And then they're going to want to leave. You're going to kill them all, Bud? I don't think so. He's got the best bargaining chip against Bud in that room. You're right.
Glib Facsimile says, imagine how hard gamers would roast this show's plot if it were the basis for an actual Fallout game. They wasted all the useful existing canon.
As far as I'm aware, there are roastable plots in like Fallout 76 and 4, and possibly even 3. I know that the big thing... Did you play 3? I can't remember if you said you did.
Yeah, I played 3 and 4.
Do you know the whole, like, you can have Forks as a companion who is immune to radiation, and so if you have...
God, yeah. And the ending is so fucking dumb.
He has dialogue where he says, like, no, you have to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me? Like, what?
It's like, you're specifically there to absorb radiation. Just fix this for me, pal.
Yeah, so there's always been issues like that in those games as well, as far as I'm aware. So, it's fair to say that a lot of fans of a lot of IPs just want it to be fun, and I get how people find the show fun. I do get it.
Well, that's good, at least. Shaker Silver says, it's clear that those who excuse the Fallout show are tourists that like Bethesda's direction of stakeless spectacle and shallow satire, opposed to 1, 2, and New Vegas.
I worry that we're going to spam the word tourist too much. It's going to become meaningless. If we start calling people who've played Fallout 3, 4, and 76 tourists, we'll be like, come on, man. They're fans of that, you can at least say.
Boot Heel says, Moldova knows that one of those vault dwellers destroyed the NCR for the crime of rebuilding civilization, which is what she is doing. She had the vault at her mercy. How can she let any of them live?
I don't think it matches her character at all to kill those people. I think she would see them as innocent, ignorant. And she certainly wouldn't allow the deaths of Rose's children. That makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
But that first episode is really weird to watch once you get the full context.
Placebo Shotgun. No worries about the geography. The show doesn't know it either. Look at the game maps versus travel time in the show. Utter nonsense. Episode 8 particularly.
I've heard people point this out. Apparently they fucked that up completely, the maps, which wouldn't surprise me. And again, wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't cooperative continuity, because it can't be now. It fucks it up.
Angry Merlin. If the show needs to emulate the games, then where's the part where Lucy progresses super fast through the Brotherhood of Steel ranks despite joining last week? What about the part where Lucy no-clips into the dev room? That'd be amazing.
I mean, we do have to be a little bit careful with saying, like, I like it because it's like in the games, because, of course, there are things that if they took it from the games, it would ruin it, right? Like, if they had loading saves, for example, we'd be like, you can't do that. Like, it's like, or like the games, I was like, yeah, we can't do
or
that.
just the physics spazzes out for no reason, and our fucking ruined bus just goes flying right across the map.
Your NPCs walking into walls. It would be funny, though.
Yeah. Greta Thunderer says, Mahler is correct. The show has bad writing. You can still enjoy the show, even if the plot and characters are regarded. I think you mean retarded. Oh, you're so regarded.
You're so fucking regarded.
Mike says, honestly, I'd rather have a flawed written show that's also fun, like Amazon Fallout, where we can debate its pros and cons, than something that's objectively bad. I mean, I think that's good. At least it was nice to have conversations, I guess, about like the relative merits of the characters, the logic of the plot, that sort of thing, rather than like, oh, it's just fucking filled with politics and I hate it and all the usual stuff.
Well, we're talking about diversity of thought. Like if we had a full episode just talking about Rebel Moon, for example, part 1 and 2, like I feel sorry for any soul that is brought on to explain how they're well written. It's just like, that's not fair. Like, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, that is the Mount Everest of challenges right there.
Yeah.
Eric Brown says, I'm 6 minutes behind and the stakes are high. Will Mueller survive his breakdown of Fallout or will his head explode? And get well soon, Frank Gore. Mueller survived perfectly fine and so did the rest of us. So it was a good discussion. And yes, get well soon, Frank. Buddy Rabbit says, you can't simultaneously say you ignored the incongruity with the lore and also make statements like, that's the world of Fallout, as if you at the same time care for those formers. Sorry, that doesn't fly when it's canon. Well, that's the thing. Like, I guess the canon aspect isn't something I was that aware of when I was watching it.
It's something I didn't know about until later. To be honest with you, I never would have expected them to do that. Why would you do that? It's like it invites so much complications, but I think they're gunning for fans really loving it, like engaging, with all of it as one big piece instead of adaptations and, different mediums and all that.
Bryce said the ghoul himself called Moldaver a communist with his comment about bread lines. Yeah, but he's not exactly an objective observer on that one, is he? Like, that was when he was straight up convinced that they were all communists, and he was just like, yeah, I've heard enough of your shit, I'm out here.
I think part of it is that there's a lot of lines where they're sort of dancing around it. Meanwhile, the capitalists get completely fucking skewered. You know what I mean? Like, there's not much in terms of like, yeah, but if you I know how stupid this sounds. If we had actually, it's not stupid at all. If we had some super rich communists like a Hassan Piker in that world, and he was like, I can't wait to just get 500 conservatives in my vault, and I just want to poison them, and you're just like, what the fuck? And like some kind of absurdist version of him. I would be totally on board with the idea that we're closer to this crazy satirical world, but feels to me like it's entirely one-sided to the point where I don't even know if there's even a chance in this show where they make fun of communists, as opposed to just saying all the people being called communist aren't crazy. Remember, like the good writer of the show, that's not they're not. There's nothing wrong with them. The friend he fought with in the war, he was being called a communist by Matt Berry. And then, of course, Moldaver's being called a communist. And then by the end, if you remember in the first scene, even Cooper is being called a communist, or he's called a pinko.
Yeah, pinko, yeah.
So, like, that seems to be how the show treats that. And then, of course, backed by her line, which is it's a dirty word used to describe people who are not insane. Meanwhile, everything else on what feels to be the other side is like turned up to 11 in terms of insanity. It reminds me of The Boys.
Oh, God, don't bring that into it. Yeah. Krizik says, concerning supposed to be retarded, if the Fallout show is meant to be treated as such, then none should be associated with all of the Fallout canon. Fallout 1 and 2 were not written as retarded. I don't think anyone said seriously it's meant to be retarded. Like,
no, I was just being hyperbolic when I said
I think the furthest we got was like, yeah, some of the characters are meant to be kind of quirky and not exactly in sync with the world that we live in today because it was an alternate reality, that sort of thing, I suppose. Riken Knight says the show didn't need to be well written, just well received to drive playtime and sales of all the Fallout games, which it did. I mean, it definitely succeeded in that score, to be fair.
Well, and I don't know if it makes a difference to anything, but I think that they had the potential to be great. Like, absolutely great. They had all the right actors in the right places, and they had clearly got the right budget enough to be able to, and the sets, costumes, like everything's ready to go. It's a shame.
Ace Archer says, greetings, drinker. After watching your How to Write a Novel and going to school for creative writing, I'm going to write a novel. It's going to be tough, but the world needs more heroes to look up to. Cheers, mates. Thank you very much, my friend, and good luck to you. John Everett says, hail drinker, Mauler, and Valiant panel. I hate to see Mauler in pain. Have a shot of whatever eldritch gods enjoy on me.
Oh, Bailey's boot.
Lovecraft was a massive fan, clearly. Glib Facsimile says Fault Tech did it is antithetical to Fallout 1's narrative. Fallout is about after the apocalypse, not explicitly 1950s capitalism or nostalgia.
Like I said, I'm actually okay with the concept if you can justify it in the writing. I don't feel that they did, but I guess what's being said there is that they wouldn't be able to justify it in the writing if they're in continuity with stuff like Fallout 1, which they claim to be, so...
Lord J says Fallout is another example of Mahler being completely right. His points are irrefutable, but I like the show anyway.
They're not irrefutable.
We did our best.
In fact, I'm pretty sure I got a couple of things wrong. It's why I like to iron things out. And it's why I really like to talk to people who have the exact opposite perspective, because they can often see stuff that I was completely missing. And I'll be like, oh, shit, right, okay. Incorporate it and then, see that it was a bad point, or alter it to better explain what my point was.
Kara Rowe says, hail to the panel. I always preferred the Elder Scrolls series from Bethesda more than Fallout. Have you played any of those? Opinions? I haven't played the Elder Scrolls, I'm afraid.
No, that would be like Skyrim, Morrowind, I forget all of them. Oblivion, that's another one. Yeah, no. I've played like none of them.
Edward Sr. says Vault Tech and cohorts aren't capitalists. They burn down their customer base and promote vaults developing any ideology they think would result in a better world. It's heuristic utopianism. My term.
I think I'm on board with what they're saying, because of course there's lines. This is what I mean. I think it's a failing on the writers, right? They say we're going to win the game of capitalism. It's like, this ain't capitalism anymore, folks. Like, what you're doing now is well beyond that. I'm willing. Like I keep saying this in all these fucking projects. Willing to criticize capitalism. There's plenty of ways to do it. Plenty of really great films or stories in general that do it. This ain't it. Just in the same way that when in TLJ they're like, look at our criticism of capitalism. It's like, that's embarrassing. Please stop.
Yeah, that's a child's criticism.
Yeah.
Monster Food says Fallout was great. It wasn't perfect, but it was entertaining and established a starting point for live action Fallout. Good enough for step one.
I don't think I agree with that.
Like, could have been better, maybe. Timmy04 says, who's better looking to you, Hayley Atwell or Sydney Sweeney? Now we're judging fine wines right there. That's a tough one. I think... Should
we say both at the absolute best sort of thing?
Yeah, peak, because, there's a bit of an age gap. But
I'm going to have to go with Atwell at that point.
Yeah, I think she's maybe slightly prettier, and she's British, so that makes her classy. So
yeah.
Let's pick her. Fuck off, Google says, Mahler is right and Fallout is my Batwoman. SBZ, Drinker is defending a woke show from Mahler. Looks like the California-Texas alliance isn't a fantasy anymore. We ventured into strange territory. Maximilian Millerick says, Drinker, how are the dogs? They're great. In fact, they're both in the room beside me right now. Lara's closer and Smokey's a bit further off in the corner there. They've got their dog beds. They're fast asleep. I'm sorry you can't see them right now. I don't have my camera on, but yeah, they're both pretty happy. Days of Darkness says, the Vault Dwellers, your special baby books said eat instead of endurance. Put all his points there. Okay.
What are they?
Oh, the right. Okay, I get what he's saying. So yeah, you get the special skill set, and it's like E is for endurance, but in the case of that fat Vault Dweller guy, it was E instead of endurance. So he put all his points into that.
I think they actually released these special skills for Lucy and Maximus. I remember someone mentioning that. Like,
really?
Somewhere you can read them, like on a website or something, which I thought was funny.
That was a nice touch. I did like that. But yeah, I did feel like having fat Vault Dwellers just wouldn't really be a thing. Like they would be on like careful calorie controlled diets or whatever, so they didn't have a surplus. But oh well. Deez says dog is more important than wife. Okay, that was part of the discussion we had. I did like that one. Canon Falderall, Mahler, an unbridled meltdown video soon. Cheers. Never. Nicholas Reiser says, the ghoul with smooth skin, laughing my ass off. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just, I guess, the limits of what they can do with prosthetics rather than having to go into pure CGI. I know the ghouls in the game are meant to be even more fucked up than that, but
I really like the makeup and I think that's fair. Like, I actually prefer that we keep them physical as opposed to CG, even if it means we don't see like the skeleton ghouls.
Yeah.
But sure, throw one or two in maybe season 2. That'd be vary it up. But you remember the dude who ends up he has to shoot in the head, like he's a friend
He's
of
gone
his.
feral.
He's got like makeup where you can see his skull.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Prominently. Yeah, stuff like that's quite cool.
Timmy04, Mauler, any Welsh pubs that you can recommend?
I've never been that picky with pubs, honestly. So like I go to any of mine locally. Like I don't have a particular favorite as long as I'm there with people I like to be with. Though Witherspoons is like just typically pretty good. Like,
oh, you pleb, you.
You're obviously going to be like way better on this than I am.
I mean, to be fair, like you know what you're going to get in Wetherspoons, and the beer is dirt cheap, so you can't go too far wrong. It's a cheap night out, that's for sure.
I am more than on board, and I kind of look forward to the idea of like going out to a pub with maybe you and some others or whatever. But ultimately, if me and my friends planned to go out to a pub, we'd probably just rather all go over one person's house, buy drinks, and then do whatever we want, play games, watch movies, and drink a lot. You know what I mean? For cheaper.
Yeah, well, then you could pour yourself gentleman's measures. So yeah, that's the way to do it. Lone Wanderer says, "I like Fallout, but I'm still trying to find my dad." You got to progress.
Hello? I don't know if people can still hear me or not. I don't know if I've disconnected. I suppose in the case that Drinker has disconnected, I should continue to talk. This means that he wouldn't have to do extra work cutting this. Oh, he's gone. Okay. Assuming this means I'm still called Mauler the Lawgiver, by the way. That was from Rebel Moon. If you guys haven't seen that film, don't. Good lord. What a absolute fucking mess. I would talk about it. We actually did talk about it before we started doing this. We found that it was actually easy to slip into just laughing at that movie a lot.
And I'm back. Hello.
We did it.
That was weird. Yeah. Sorry about that for anyone watching this.
I was certain that I had cut out. I was like, oh, fuck. Great.
Yeah. Internet went down. I made the mistake of like changing my internet setup here, thinking I was upgrading, and it turns out it was actually a horrendous fucking disaster, and I had to revert back to the original. And it's been slightly iffy since then. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. But weird, yeah. The StreamYard just kept recording it, so that's kind of cool. Does make me wonder how long it would have kept going. That's the case. Yeah, I was talking about Grand Tour there. So did you get any of my answer at all?
I didn't hear it, I don't think. But, well, to be safe, I guess just repeat it if if that's doable.
Okay, so yeah, the question was favorite Grand Tour episodes, I suppose, or Top Gear. So probably my top ones would be when they were driving the dune buggies. I think it was going across like Africa, but where they got caught in like the sand dunes and stuff, like right next to the ocean. So yeah, quite enjoyed that one. I like the bridge on the River Kwai one where they had to like drive across Borneo. Just yeah, it was brilliant. Like all the stupid scrapes and stuff that they got into. I don't know what's the other one. Probably yeah, driving the little mopeds across Vietnam, just because it was such an amazing like country that they traveled through. So I guess those would be my picks.
I'm particularly fond of the one where they each chose and devised a car that would be the best to get through. Like I forget where they're going. But it ends up being, I think, that Jeremy made the best choice. James May was like second up, and then they have loads of different results. It's one of the Grand Tour later episodes, and then the Mongolia special is like one of my favorites as well because of I love the fact that it's like they have to build the car and then get that car to like I almost want to see them do that several different times at different places with different. Just so much fun as an idea.
Yeah, it's just the dicking around they do as well. Like the the lockdown one where they fill up James May's caravan with water. Just
dude, when they have what's the caravan one where they have like huge special? Do you remember when they make like cars out of recyclable shit as well, like mud and bricks? Oh, so good.
It's awesome. What's the next one? Frosty Film Watcher says, "Glory to the USSR. I mean, open bar. In an ideal world, what would happen to Lucasfilm should Disney decide to sell it off? What's the best outcome? Is there any way for true Star Wars to persevere?" I don't think there is at this point, really. I just think too much water under the bridge, I suppose. And it's just, it's never going to go back to what it was. It's too tarnished now. It might get salvaged to some extent, but it'll never be what it once was for people.
If some hyper rich person bought it and then said all of it's decanonized post 2014, 2012, whatever, right? Like that's where it starts. And then they say no Star Wars for a decade. And you're like, damn, okay. And then on the 11th year, they're like, all right, here's our plan. We're going to give it a shot. If it isn't well received we're going to do 3 films. If it goes down the fucking toilet and everyone hates it again, then we're just going to stop.
Yeah.
That would be interesting if someone even tried that. But we never get those sorts of things. Like I said, we never seem to have people say, yep, that was bad, we're going to try again. They never want to do that. I guess it's an ego thing or maybe even like a legal thing.
I mean, yeah, it's a share price thing as well to admit that you've fucked up. It's like horrendous for your business, I suppose, your studio.
Yeah.
Here we have more duality of man. Tobin Russell says, "Are you okay, drinker? Did the moonshine get to your head?" Whereas Coastline AM says, "Thank you, drinker." It's pretty much, "I hate you, you're an idiot," or "You're brilliant, thanks for doing this." Like, weird. Matt PG says, "When all you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. Yes, the show had its bad points, but I did like it quite a bit."
I mean, that saying, I assume they mean that, like, you know, because I'm critical of basically everything. Like, but I do this with things I like. Like, why would I have liked The Gentleman? Why would I have liked Shogun? Why did I like Haunting in Venice? Which, by the way, was released by Disney.
Ooh. Noah Sprague Studios says, "Whenever Mahler argues with his friends, I think, will this be another Doomer and YMS situation?"
What, like, I don't even feel like I did anything wrong in the approach with friends, so to speak. As far as I'm concerned, Drinker and I can take each other's bobs without worrying about some kind of horrible breakup. I've always found that way. But like that's the relationship I have with any of my close friends. I feel like that's normal.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it wasn't just you as well. Like, Reaper was very much in agreement with you, whereas Lance, I think, was in agreement with me. And I'm never quite sure where Gary stood on the whole thing. He seemed a bit confused by the Fallout discussion.
Gary was chaotic. He was watching the battle. He was just like,
yeah,
it was fun for him. But yeah, like I don't think that anybody taking this to a point where they're like worried about me and Drinker's friendship. I think that's just so silly. No offense. I like that you're invested in us being friends, but like, you don't have to worry. We are fine with disagreeing over a movie or a TV show.
And honestly, it's better from time to time to disagree on things, because if we just agreed on everything, it'd be like, fuck me, this is boring. There's nothing to talk about. It's just like agree with each other on everything. So, some of the best, most fun discussions are where you passionately disagree about something. So it's good. Vimarine says, "Love this episode. You can forever use it to show that this is a no echo chamber zone. P.S. Helldivers 2 stream by any chance?" Yes, like I was saying earlier, I really want to do a Helldivers 2 stream. I just haven't had the time. But hey, Mahler does it, Az does it. I assume you still play it. Perhaps we could.
I haven't played it in a little bit now, but easily able to jump back in.
Cool. Vaborn says, "Drinker, came across the Stargate Universe free on Amazon. Best sci-fi show I've watched in years. Only 2 seasons and never saw the original show. Surprising cast." Well, watch SG-1 then as well, because if you like Universe, you'll like that for sure. Goob says, "This Fallout autism is but a taste of the autism storm that will arrive with the 40K show. Hold on to your lives." Yeah, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Sam Wallace, "Civil War and the Creator are an unfortunate genre, giving mid-budget original IP films a bad name." It's a shame. They had potential. I wanted to like the Creator so much, but God, it was a bit weak in the story department.
Dude, the sentiment from some of my friends who went to see it was like, "Oh, it was bad." I was like, no. Like, why did it have to be? No.
Snoopy says, "I've said this before, but Tim Kaine said the vaults were originally for researching tech to leave the planet. Why stay on a destroyed, irradiated world?" I mean, that's fair play, but none of the tech that they research seems to revolve around like space travel or anything.
Wow.
Ways to fuck with people.
Again, I'm so weak on this as knowledge, but I think the idea was just it was practice for living in very limited resource and space environments. Like that's what the vaults would simulate. I'd have to look more into that, but I've seen other people mentioning that. So the lore has definitely been chiseled as time has gone on in terms of different things going on.
Seki Jokes says the NCR has a population of roughly 700,000 people with a standing army and an SAS level special forces group in the Rangers, all retconned out now. That is indeed unfortunate. I guess I didn't really understand the impact of that at the time. Nicholas Reiser says jetpack. There's Jet. Did he have a pack of those? Yes, I know what Jet is. I guess with the suits in Fallout, like with Fallout 3 and 4, I think you get like an attachment for them, which is like a rocket pack or something. It allows you to fly short distances. Box Office Brawler says, Mahler, if I was a Make-A-Wish kid, would you show me your face if it was on the top of my list? Good looks, boys. Keep up the grind.
You can find my face. I used to stream games with a webcam. If you really want to see me, I'm out there. Your wish has been granted, I guess.
Yay! Now you can die happy.
Yay.
Tungsten says, I like the fan theory that Caesar's Legion and the Brotherhood of Steel have joined into one. It fits with how the Brotherhood operates with the naming and ritual style branding. That's true, yeah. Aussie Boomer says, did the show explain how Moldaver survived for 200 years? Is she a ghoul or did she get the cryotube somehow?
That's the two theories. I think it's more likely a cryotube, but there's still a lot of questions for that, like who facilitated it. She probably had the money to be able to do it if that was a program that someone was running. But, you'd wonder if it was Vault-Tec, and at that point, what would Vault-Tec do with her? There's just a couple of questions. I don't know if season 2 or 3 or whatever will elaborate, but I am almost certain season 2 will be worse, and then season 3, everyone will have tuned out.
Yeah. The Westworld approach, eh? Binary Eclipse says, Brotherhood has become the Ultramarines of the Fallout franchise. I guess you mean like too sort of generic and goody-goody, maybe, and too powerful. Joel S. says, Tim Kaine has a great channel on YouTube. He's the creator of Fallout. He answers all these questions there. Might take a look at that.
Cool.
I do love these lore channels, actually. Buddy Rabbit says, it's almost sad that they have no one who played them all. I guess all the Fallout games.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well,
none of us have played all of them now. Tobin Russell, Fallout is Mad Max with a facade of 50s propaganda to highlight the horrors of nuclear war. Bethesda saw the old world propaganda and made that the whole tone of the game. Bethesda are hacks. Brutal.
A lot of people feel that way.
Pipe Man, everyone loves the long man until he analyzes the thing that they like. Good on you, Mahler. Stay honest.
Oh, well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, by the way, everyone on that panel was being honest. That's the only thing I care about. I don't mind at all that we have different levels of information, different levels of analysis, different levels of interpretation. That's what makes it fun.
Yay. Evan Rogers says, hot take, the character assassinated Mr. House. I could agree with that, actually, because
a lot of people
the scene from New Vegas where it's like, oh, wow, he's like super intelligent in that. Not so much here. Bryce says Paul should say Fallout TV show. Sorry, the poll. Yeah, that's fair, but I think everyone got what I meant. Shane Smith says, do you think Lucy is a ghoul? If not, how is having that dead finger attached to her hand not made her sick from necrosis? It's supposed to be retarded, don't you know?
I mean, I'd be willing to give him sci-fi flames with that. Like the robot has, I think, a laser and some kind of injector, but the fact is, I don't know why they did it that way. When he chops her finger off, does he like keep it? Wouldn't it have been better if he like tossed it at her as a sort of like taunt, and then she picked it up and put it in her pocket, and then she hands it to the robot? You know,
would have been easier.
Would have been way cleaner. But of course, my issue with all of that in general is just that, like, for a second, I remember watching it being like, oh, cool. You just chopped the main character's finger off, like an index finger. That's some. Oh, it's back on. Okay.
Yeah, and his is back on within like one episode as well. So yeah, cool. No consequences. It's fine. Peace or Destruction says Starfield and Fallout have been my TLJ. They soured my opinion of Bethesda and even Fallout 4, a game that I had a lot of fun in 4, but now I don't want to play it. It's sad where that's gone, really. Jonathan Showalter says the Fallout show pisses over Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas. Bethesda is to Fallout like Disney is to Star Wars. Man, so much hate for Bethesda.
Well,
Tobin,
a lot of it's deserved. Because the funny thing is, we're already talking about story. A lot of people hate them for their mechanics, what they've approached the game, and then of course the meta, like microtransactions / the way they approach releasing games. How complete. The controversy of Fallout 76, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tobin Russell, what's the opening for the first Fallout game? That's what Fallout is. The desolation of the world contrasted with the optimistic propaganda of the 50s. That's fair. Weeb Addict. The Fallout show at best is 5 out of 10. Too rushed, lack of world building, disregarding source material, and wasting my time. Ban these writers. Boom.
Ban them. Damn. Let them improve.
Peace or Destruction says, unrelated, but do you like platformer games? Been playing Crash Bandicoot lately. It's addictively fun and sometimes rage-inducing. I mean, platformers were a thing for me when I was a kid, like, Donkey Kong Country, Mario World. Yeah, I was going to say, Super Mario World I played that to death. Fucking hated the Yoshi's Island one. Never got into that. But, don't really play them these days.
I'm trying to think of, what's, the newest entry for Mario? Is it...
They're all 3D now, though, aren't they?
Is it Odyssey? Well, it still counts as a platformer, right? Or did they say 2D?
Well, didn't say specifically 2D, but I mean, I suppose you could even say Tomb Raider is a platformer game.
To an extent, yeah. I love me a good platformer, but yeah, I don't find myself playing them a lot. It's funny because Ori and the Blind Forest, I get, because I see that as a Metroidvania, and it's like, well, it's a platformer as well, and it's like, yeah, that's fair. It's that too.
Yeah. Kevin O'Neill says this stream is the real Civil War. But at least we kept it civil, so that's good.
Way more entertaining of a civil war than Civil War. I'm just saying.
Well, true. Spartan Bot says, have we as a society that loves entertainment really fallen low enough to accept something that isn't absolute shit as good or great? If so, I worry for our future generations.
I think it's fair to acknowledge where it sits compared to things around it and its release. I just wouldn't want to use that as a reason that we should praise it. I'd be like, it's, because it feels like you rewind 20 years and our standards did feel like they were higher in a way that may have even been unfair. Like we would have been like, oh, this is fine, when something was actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, we're spoiled. WG says, even if Fallout ain't all that bad, look on the bright side. At least we can still look forward to Cavill's Warhammer, right? Anyway, I can't wait to see the 40k lore-friendly Emperor's Elite Adeptus Vaginas in action. Yeah, we covered that on the night, for sure. Navy Omen says, Fallout Season 2 is going to get cancelled halfway through production because of political BS.
I'm sure they'll make it through Season 2. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a 3. I'm not sure it'll go further than that. Isclop
says, I appreciate Drinker. Thank you. He calls out bullshit, but he can also tell the difference between a strong female character and a strong female character. Well, thank you. I like to think I know the difference. Miguel Angel says, since nerd culture has become mainstream, normies try so hard to become a nerd in fear of missing out. Now they consume all new bad products of things that have been great a long time ago. Are you trying to say that we are normies? Tahoot76 says, whether the writers meant it or not, the theme I came away from the Vault-Tec versus commies thing was a takedown of the military-industrial complex, as well as the dangers of othering political rivals. Fair.
I wasn't quite grabbing that, but fair enough.
Analog Mind. Vault-Tec in the original lore is a front group for the Enclave, and experiments are to test scenarios for space colonization post-nuclear war. So is that officially in the canon then?
Like I said, I've seen several people mention it, so I assume so.
Right. Michael Whitehead says, superhero movies will go the way of the Westerns. Steven Spielberg, 2013.
Yeah.
Tobin, they're still fucking hanging in there. Tobin Russell, Mauler, I have trouble rating higher than 6 out of 10. Could you give your criteria for a 9 out of 10? Racking up those W's, long man.
Well, super straightforward. Just internal consistency is the primary prism at which I try to judge everything, to the point where there are things where I give them high ratings that I don't even like, because I'm like, well, to be fair, they did it really well the way that they did it. I feel like, something like a Lord of the Rings, where you've got that many variables compared to something like a 12 Angry Men, where both of them would score extremely high, but I feel like Lord of the Rings deserves more appreciation for the sheer level of difficulty it would have had to create what they created. But at the same time, I'm still looking for all the characters acting within the way that they're established. Plot lines make it sense, remove and limit contrivances, plot holes. These are all things that are difficult to do as a writer. I don't have any qualms about that, right? We talk about Rebel Moon with the grain thing. Like, we laugh at it, but what was the grain thing? It's like, well, it's Zack Snyder's solution to why they couldn't blow them out of orbit. And then he removes that when he's like, now it's time to do the ticking clock of the Death Star about to shoot, Yavin. It's like, and it's just like, this is a joke. You've not solved the problem. You've been incredibly lazy. And you highlight these things by showing just how many ways it falls apart, right? And yeah, some of the higher rated films, I think, are the ones where they're like air fucking tight, and a lot of the classics would count for that. Like a Blade Runner is incredibly hard to fucking poke holes in. It's so well done.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree.
Or an Alien. Or Predator. That film's bitching.
It is. Corey Johnson, Mauler, Drinker, and Panel. Have any studios ever approached you for quality control on script or first cut prior to release? If not, would you be interested if they ever offered? Thanks for all that you do. A few have contacted me, and I've been able to work with them to some capacity. I can say that much. There might be more in the future as well.
I don't think I have, and I was entertaining the idea, like, I think I have better answers to this question if you gave me, like, specifics. So, as in, like, what would you do if Zack Snyder asked you to clarify a script before he went with it? I feel like that would be so fucking funny. I don't even, I can't even imagine it. But then if it was, like, some indie, movie studio that was desperately trying to make a thing work, which, by the way, maybe I've got so many unread emails. I'm terrible with that. It may be in there. I like the idea that I would it would be a fun thing to try and help out. But the thing is, I definitely have a bit of feeling like an imposter in terms of, like, you don't need to come to me to fix your script. You'll be fine, or something like that. I like my corner on YouTube. I don't know about the whole, like, you should be a script doctor sort of thing. It's like,
it's my comfort zone. No, it's an interesting intellectual problem to take on, and I think you can get a nice sense of having contributed something, I suppose. But then they might potentially just ignore all your suggestions, so you never quite know how it's going to pan out. Max Millerick says, what is your favorite multiplayer game and single player game, and which do you prefer? So I guess right now multiplayer is probably Helldivers 2. Having a lot of fun with that. Before that, I was playing Modern Warfare quite a bit.
Multiplayer is kind of like, I don't know if I have an all-time favorite versus it's rotating, and right now it probably is Helldivers.
Single player, right now is probably Final Fantasy VII, just because I'm very much enjoying the nostalgia.
I'll submit Super Metroid and Metroid Prime for favorite single players of all time.
Fair play. Casey Boyd says, do I need to watch the Star Trek TV series to watch any of the movies? Nah, not really. You're fine. Max Millerick, Mauler, what's your favorite animal?
Oh, I think I've answered this on EFAP before. I end up oftentimes going with T-Rex is usually number one. I think that's one of the most badass creatures that I've got created on this planet. Can't believe it's fucking real. It's so cool. But then if we go like anything that's living, I aim for something like a shark. Again, just the cool factor is through the roof of those things.
Just like that's your basis for a favorite animal. It's like coolness and being able to eat everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm all about the apex predators. Hey Mauler, season 1 Lucy reminds me of season 1 Buffy. Both are naive and overpowered, but grow into their own by the end of the season.
Season 1 Lucy. Lucy and Buffy are very, very, very different. Like, not that I wouldn't be able to say that that's a fair connection somewhat to make of them. Wait, did they say that Lucy's overpowered?
No.
Sorry, what
no, it does say, yeah, both are naive and overpowered, but grow into their own by the end.
Would you say Lucy's overpowered?
Not really, no. She's not very good at many things.
I would have said she's...
maybe they meant to say underpowered and they just mistyped.
Well, that's the thing. Buffy's pretty overpowered, but like that's the story. She's the Slayer, so I'm not. entirely sure. I'd have to think on these notions.
Well, here's one. Kevbot says, prediction, the Brotherhood of Steel soldier that saved Maximus will end up being Lucy's dad. I mean, it's clearly someone significant because, their face is hidden.
That might never come up again. Honestly, I wouldn't have too many expectations for a season 2. The thing about it is, I spoke with Fringy about this. We often, when watching season 1, will be like, I wonder if they'll do this, I wonder if they'll do that, I wonder if this is. When they start making season 2, they'll probably have a whole new set of like things they want to do in terms of stories. And what we see is like, things they haven't yet sorted out. Say, for example, people think that season 2 will fully explain what happened in Vault 32. They might never talk about Vault 32 again.
I mean, I'm hoping not. I'm holding out hope for some kind of coherent narrative, but
I think that's fair. I just I'm having flashbacks to Shad had like a extended conversation with us about Mandalorian season 1's fobs, if you remember those. Trying to understand them, and then he was like, season 2 is gonna clear this all up, and fobs will make sense, and that there's a couple of ways you could do it, and yes, that'll happen. I don't think they were ever mentioned again.
That was amazing.
Thank you, Star Wars.
Bayona Rad says shareholders keep Bob Iger still going, put out woke Star Wars Rey, Outlaw, and Star Wars Acolytes. I mean, probably, yeah. They're not going to stop. Casey Boyd says Tolkien didn't like Dune. That is true. Navy Omen says, fun fact, you can watch at 1.25 speed. Yes, you can. Parallelogram Yosef says, I love you guys so much, but Reaper, you taking a big dump and your commentary is the cure for the darkness of this world. Laughing so hard, even when I'm stressed, my one-man construction business. Nice. I hope your stress levels decline a bit. Milo says, the thing with female space marines is that if you can tell, you should take the headshot. Games Workshop could have a radical inquisitor create them because more soldiers is better, but no retcon it. That's true. I mean, there's plenty of mad scientist characters in the 40k universe that could find a way to make it happen, I suppose. But yeah, to just pretend like, oh yeah, they've always been there, you just never noticed them before. That's weak. Duster says, greetings. Not quite sure of your opinion about anime, but I wanted to recommend Frieren Beyond Journey's End as some of the best world building and characters I've seen in a long time. Nice. Thank you. Blue Team Epsilon, the Emperor has always been intensely misogynistic. I mean, yeah, when your name's God Emperor of Humanity, what can you say? What's the next one? Casey Boyd says, why are Brits so horrible with compliments? Every time I see anyone compliment a Brit, they get awkward. Has your country brainwashed you to hate them? Kind of, yeah. We're meant to be self-deprecating.
That is the cornerstone of like British culture to an extent. A lot of the greatest of British humor is self-deprecating in a lot of ways. Like it's weird. There's got to be like extensive studies on this because it's a hell of a lot more of a meaningful thing than a casual jab. It's like an actual full-on thing. That and the nature of like keep calm, carry on. The we'll queue for 1 million years in the hopes of like making a difference. British culture is strange. There's a lot of things in there, but you know what? A lot of it works.
Well, I would say so. Wargamer Girl says, I'm a female 40k player and I don't like this. I don't blame you either. Skeletal Commissar, you're telling me no femstrodes did anything in 10,000 years? Apparently no. Or femstodies. Rhythm Hawk says, I know I missed the bulk of the Fallout debate, but the way I see it, New Vegas is smartly written and funny, so the show has no excuse to be stupid. God, it's amazing how long that went on for. Daniel Link says, there's a very large difference between a retcon and changing the lore. I'm certain Gary can provide 100 examples in comics. Iceman suddenly gay, for example. Grr. Indeed.
I agree with that, but a lot of us tend to use retcon and change the lore interchangeably, as in like that's a fucking retcon, and it'd be like retroactive continuity can be a strong good thing at times if it's done right, like altering what we assume to be the case but not damaging anything. But changing the lore, it's we all know how this works. We just don't damage everything when you blunder in with your stories. That's all we want.
Yeah, I think particularly when the motivation behind it is just like, well, we need to appease some people in the real world today. Like that's not really a good reason for changing your lore. That's the meta creeping into your fictional world.
Yeah.
Night Sky King says, I wonder if those people bitching about wanting women in the Space Marines are the same people who dislike Eve and Taki in Stellar Blade. Very curious. I'm sure there's a crossover there. Cracklin says, Clint Eastwood would have made a perfectly good cowboy ghoul. He would have hardly needed any makeup. Yeah, I've seen the pictures of him recently. He's looking pretty frail these days.
They joke, but like if he is at least coherent enough to deliver lines, he probably could pull that off. Like they give him a bit of basic makeup, and he's like a really old. I was about to say really old ghoul, as if Goggins isn't actually the oldest ghoul in existence anyway, right? Because he was ghoulified on day one.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know. But I was just thinking, like, because I've seen that picture as well. It's been going around. It's like I don't know if that's representative that he's, like, incoherent. I assume he's okay. He just looks really old.
Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of people are making fun of him. It's like, what the fuck do you expect to look like when you're that old?
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be old and frail. That's it. Ultima Breaker says, very current day, somebody should tell them Custodes and Astartes are sterile after life-altering surgery. Indeed. Wargamer Girl, girls don't enjoy things because there's female representation. If you want more girls, have more shirtless firefighters holding puppies. There you go. Yeah, sexualize everyone. Daniel Link says, 40k is what humanity becomes after Star Trek fails. That is true. They went different paths. Casey Boyd. Mauler, watch Mob Psycho 100. I wish you to enjoy something for a change. No recommendations for Drinker because he needs to finish Attack on Titan. Exactly. Don't let me get distracted.
Mob Psycho 100 has been recommended many times.
Sandy Q, great to see you, Lance, and the rest. Nice. Britt Cormier says, the Sisters of Silence are in ways more powerful than the Custodes because the Sisters of Silence are all psychic blanks. Yes, that's true. And it's very... very damaging if you're a psyker to be around them. Second, Space Marines have tons of recruits die during training. Some recruits come from worlds so harsh they're labeled death worlds and they still don't make it. That is also true, yeah. I'm never sure what the percentage of success is, but it's probably like 10% of recruits actually make it. Larry says, panel, make a Rings of Power metaphor. No, it's shit, even in metaphor form.
What a metaphor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Daniel Link says, the only thing Games Workshop has that's good is Lord of the Rings minis. You can fuck up the lore if you don't own the lore. 40k is lost because there are too many Games Workshop simps brainwashed. Seems that way. David K says, can you have YouTuber Marcus Fleming on Open Bar? He does great film analysis and breakdowns and is an actual filmmaker as well. I've not heard of that guy, actually. Marcus Fleming. Legomi Bacon says, song recommendation, Boston by Neil Cicierega. Funny remix of Ghostbusters. Love your streams and what's your favorite flavor of Mountain Dew? Cheers, Mental Gen. My favorite flavor is roast chicken flavor.
No.
Movie Bob makes it for me specially.
You know what's really funny? I don't think I've ever had a Mountain Dew.
Just tastes like lemonade.
That's the thing. I'm as far as I'm aware, that's how it tastes. I'm not particularly, that's not a drink where I'm like, oh, I got to try that at some point. I was like, no, I just don't care. Like it's a thing, I guess.
I think that's the correct response. Saladin Studios says, hey Drinker, longtime fan. You were one of the main reasons I started uploading on YouTube. Only have 3 story-based videos so far, but I started writing 14 years ago and you've been a huge influence in recent years. Cheers. Thank you, man. Glad you're doing
awesome.
Glad you're doing what you enjoy doing, so keep it up. Chris says, new season of Discovery. Better? Worse? Well, don't care. Not going to watch it. Fuck that show. Mega Spidey Man. No, I asked you what Bat villain Spidey would most struggle with, but on Last Orders you didn't answer. I had asked the reverse a few weeks ago, which you did. Okay, so... Okay.
So what Batman villains would Spider-Man struggle with, was it?
Yes.
Okay. People in the Batman world who would give Spider-Man a run for his money. All right, he's dealing with a lot of them easily. Like Two-Face, he ain't gonna do shit against Spider-Man.
Just a lawyer who's like fucking starting up.
Penguin, he's fucked. Who else we got? Joker, I don't feel like is gonna what's he gonna do against Spider-Man?
Mr. Freeze might be a prospect.
Maybe
Freeze can shoot freeze rays at him.
I think Clayface is definitely gonna give Spider-Man trouble. just like Sandman. I think we not. I think we just did the reverse of that last time or something. I could have sworn we've had this conversation, but it's okay. Yeah, the Clayface would be one of the bigger ones for annoying Spider-Man, because how does Spider-Man beat him? Like, webbing isn't going to do anything, and can't punch and kick him to death. You just got to use the environment, I guess.
Casey Boyd says, I didn't understand the final fight at the climax of Blade Runner. It seems the replicant could have killed Deckard multiple times. What am I missing? You're not missing anything. Like, he's toying with him, and then
if they're asking why he doesn't kill him, it's I've always seen it as symbolic of, right? Well, what are they doing in that whole film? They're trying to get to their creators to find any way, shape, or form of getting more time, right, to live.
Yes,
and they find that there's nothing they can do. When Deckard is hanging off the edge of the building, that is symbolically Batty's choosing to give him life by lifting him back up and saving him, right? And I think he's having an existential crisis in that scene, Roy Batty. He's running through everything. He's thinking about everything, loading it all out. And obviously Deckard is just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, this whole, because he's just trying to kill him and goes through everything. There's going to be really great breakdowns of it, but I find it like extremely meaningful, because he's trying to explain to Deckard what he's not understanding.
Yeah, and it's, if he passes on that memory of himself to Deckard and Deckard survives, well, a little piece of him is going to live on. It's like a tiny element of immortality, I suppose. Like, the things that he describes, the memories that he's experienced, although Deckard can't experience those things himself, he's got the sense of them, and he's got a sense of what shaped this man, and maybe that allows something of him to live on, I suppose. And him being so close to his own death, he recognizes the sheer value of life in any form. And so I think it makes total sense that he would save Deckard, to at least give someone else a chance of life, even if he can't give it to himself.
Well, and knowing that he's soon to die, this is probably the best way you can make a potential difference in the world, by, presenting all of this to one of the best Blade Runners of all time, to be like,
yep,
I'm sparing you. I'm trying to explain to you how I am no less human than you are, sort of stuff. It's I don't know. I think it's brilliant. I like the idea that he provides Deckard, that extra life he's looking for by almost falling off a building, in the same reflection of what the replicants are doing in the whole movie.
Yep, it's a lot to chew over with that film, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Hairukami says the USS Indianapolis speech from Jaws, which we were talking about great monologues. That is a fucking good one. Yeah. Robert Shaw nailed that one.
Yeah.
Apparently he had to get really drunk for it as well, which I respect. Nicholas Reiser says the taxi driver listen up quote sticks with me. YouTube doesn't like the language, lol. Is that the Martin Scorsese cameo?
Oh, yeah.
In which case, yes, I can see why YouTube doesn't like that one. Iron Mandrill says, Mauler, did you 100% Arkham Asylum?
Asylum, yes. City, no. I was thinking of doing another stream on City, but I am incredibly busy right now, which will all be made clear soon enough as to how.
Big Flippin' Boss says, the Fallout show debate was like watching Steve and Bucky jump Iron Man in Civil War, but this time Iron Man didn't have his comeback. Wait, who's Iron Man in this analogy?
Yeah, who's Steve? Because Stephen, because the thing is, there was 4 people in the discussion, so
yeah, I'm not really sure the analogy works there, but yeah, we had a chat. It was fine.
And Gary did get some points in. He did talk eventually. He was invited to. I think it was the fact that he had plenty to say, but he was just enjoying listening to all of us go back and forth.
Yeah, I think at a certain point I had to kind of tease it out of him, like, so you got some input for us, Gary? Patriots, the last one here, says, looking at this poll, it's clear that people's standards have dramatically fallen. How can we reverse this? Well, maybe people like Mauler can show us the way.
To be fair, I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying it, and and it's only been recently, right? We'll do the poll again in a year's time, see what people think.
That would be an interesting one, actually. Anyway, that was the last of the super chats. So thank you, guys. You can see how long this stream was. There was a lot of them. And yeah, that was a lot. Minus the 5 minutes where my internet timed out, but that's okay. Anyway, thank you, guys. And I guess we will catch you on the next open bar. But for now, Go away now.
Bye.